Joining us is former Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar. He's a former Indian diplomat. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm looking at these two very distinct personalities, what connects them or the only factor keeping them together at this point, or the only common factor is that both are young leaders. Both are names that are being speculated about on social media. Now, we are not sure if social media actually will get its way, if politics will actually turn out to be this way, but what's your understanding of what happens next in the process? Currently, army is in charge. What happens next? How will the election even take place?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you very much, Sunil, for having me, and thank you very much for giving this very detailed and comprehensive account of the situation as it prevails there, and also, the different contenders for the top position. You're very right. There's an uneasy calm. The army has stepped in. To the question that you raised, why could the army have come in earlier to restore order and stability and security? I think the real answer would be because the army chief wanted the Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli really to step down before they could, take any action. So I think once that took over, and in any case, I think what we had seen was that as far as the young people are concerned, the youth is concerned, there was so much of pent-up anger, there was so much of frustration, there was so much of angst that they went about, breaking everything, engaging in arson, looting, etc. And once that energy, etc., had come down, that was the time we really to sort of, bring calm. That is the most important thing, to bring the peace, stability, calm in the country. And that has been established. Now, the way forward, I think basically, army enjoys credibility, army enjoys trust of the people, and army has the instrument of power to enforce what it says in terms of maintaining calm and quiet in the country. The second institution, I think, which continues to be in position, although there were reports yesterday that the president also has resigned, but I think the president is very much in power. So it is the chief of the army staff and the president who will have to come together to see whom to invite. There is no provision for an interim government or an interim administration in the latest constitution of Nepal that was adopted in 2015. So I think this will have to be some sort of, and also I think the people who have been on the streets who have been protesting, they would want that the parliament should be dissolved and that there should be new elections that take place. So I think we really have to find ways towards that. But what it appears most likely is that first, tranquility needs to be maintained, go in for elections, have a new parliament come into position, and as the regime has been saying, they would like their own representatives to come in and to take be at the helm of affairs, other than these established parties are totally discredited. That is why you saw that, Sonal, it was not only K.P. Sharma Oli and his ministers, but it was also Prachand, it was also Sher Bahadur Daiba, whose houses were
And
attacked
if I
and
can
they
take it forward, sir, it was not just that, it was the judiciary, it was the courts which were set on fire, some media houses that were set on fire as well. So discontent and anger and irritation with things not going right, and that frustration with the youth was felt across. And more young people that we've interacted with in Nepal say that we want a directly elected Prime Minister. We want a young person there. We don't want these ministers whose kids have these so-called Nepo, lives, wherein they go abroad, they have fancy luxury bags, and what you're left with for people of Nepal is actually nothing. It's just more taxes that doesn't lead to much. But, I want to take this a step forward now, and Pranay is also joining us. So stay tuned with us because you spoke about those detailed ones. I've got one on General Ashok Raj as well. Now, at the center of this entire response has been the army chief of Nepal. You can question why they came late. You can question how they've managed to restore, finally, some uneasy calm. But who is this guy? Let's sort of decode that a little bit as well. Now, the Chief of Army staff since 9th of September 2024. He's a veteran officer and a distinguished career one with as well. He's a general. Sigdel has also held pivotal roles during the recent crisis. He played a decisive role under his leadership. The Nepal Army actually deployed troops to hotspots across the capital, enforced curfews to prevent further escalation, took firm public stance against vandalism and violence, and also protected civilians and evacuated officials from high-risk zones, and even sort of reportedly advised political leadership to step aside as a measure to diffuse tensions and restore calm. Now, General Sigdel's leadership during this entire critical period has positioned the army as a stabilizing force amid one of the most volatile political crises in recent Nepali history. So that's a little bit about him. But I want to go back and bring in Pranay also at this point. Pranay, there is no precedence to this in the recent history for Nepal. But at this point, could you see General as this one uniting force? At this point, it's being speculated as one because it was after that statement that we're playing out on our screens right now that things actually calmed down a little bit. But is it not fair to question why didn't the army take a more aggressive stance, preempt this, or perhaps even saved their own leadership?
Obviously, Sonal, there are very many questions, and those questions are very open-ended questions on the current situation of Nepal. But if you see, as an institution, Nepalese army is a professional army. If you see General Ashok Raj Sigdel, who assumed the charge of the Chief of Army Staff of Nepal in 2024, he jumped into a situation and in fact, the Nepalese army, Nepalese troops were guarding not only the Kathmandu city, they also rescued in Maharajganj just a while ago. The Nepalese army posted on social media a video where the Nepalese army helicopters was sent in Maharajganj to rescue the police personnel. So definitely army as an institution has means with apparatus and everything to calm down the situation. Obviously there are questions that why did not they come in when the situation was actually spreading nationwide, and why did not they contain the situation, why it was left to the armed police of Nepal. And in the police forces of Nepal, army was only deployed of late to guard the Baneshwari area, the parliament of Nepal, but the situation was not contained. And when they got into action, by the time Prime Minister had already resigned, and the Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned only after having a conversation with the army chief, and after that army rescued. I'm being given to understand that still former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, the family members of the cabinet ministers and the ministers, they are under the custody of the Jangi Adda, which is called the military base of Nepalese army. So they are in custody of army. So definitely army as an institution is a force which is stabilizing the situation right now. And they are also dealing with so-called these Gen Z representatives. We do not know who exactly are these individuals and do they have that authority? Will they prevail? Or how army is going to concede to their demands. So currently a high-level meeting is going on at the presidential palace. The president is chairing a meeting is in consultation with the army chief also. But definitely army is an institution which has, so far in last 24 hours has contained the situation, and their troops are already on streets.
All right. Okay, so Pranay also confirming there that all those reports of KP Oli actually fleeing to UAE, etc., are all false. He remains to be what he's calling under the custody, which basically means that he's under the protection of basically the army at the moment. And so are the family members of several other political leaders as well. Let me take a last comment very quickly from Ambassador Ashok. Sir, I'm just trying to piece this together to say that this is a country which at the moment does not have a court, does not have a parliament to operate on. The getting back on their feet situation is a long haul. In the interim, Are we safe to say that the situation is completely contained? There will be talks that will take place largely helmed by the army chief, and then a mechanism will be devised on what happens next? Or are we to say that immediately there will be a leader? Are we looking at an immediate election, or are we looking at an immediate sort of a leader who will, interim situation will be handled through them?
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer because, some similar questions will arise. But if you look at what has been the experience in other countries, not in Nepal, Nepal democracy has come in only very recently, from 2008 onwards. And then, under a new constitution from 2005. And we've seen that over the 17 years from 2008 till now, there have been 14 prime ministers. So, democracy as an institution and other institutions, Sonal, as you mentioned yourself, even the Supreme Court was torched and, it was
Yeah.
not even the students and the young people, they did not, hold them also in high respect. So as far as the institutions are concerned, they have not really been able to stabilize or establish themselves. I think what is the issue right now is if you look at the other countries' experiences, that first we will have to have an interim government which will bring the stability, which will bring the calm, peace, quiet. Because in addition to everything else, what is it that has brought this on? It is the fact that the economy was not doing well as far as corruption, misgovernance, lack of job, inflation. So that also has to be controlled. So, there has to be an interim government which will bring in quiet, which will try to put to the extent possible the economy on the rail and then make the conditions viable and feasible for independent, free, and fair elections to take place. So I think that is the way to go forward, because just having elections without
Got it.
any authority in even an interim authority in place, and I think what is good, what Pranav said rightly, is that the president has taken control of the situation along with the army chief. I think that is the way to go forward.
Yeah, but who's going to take care of the situation? You need somebody with experience, and the youth, the young people and the youth in Nepal actually don't want any of the old guard there. So this is a tricky sort of a situation for people to handle and to see who will actually sit well, even in the interim position. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.